I'm Laura Perry and I'm a student at the University of Oxford. When I was studying for my A-levels, I became ill with anorexia, and I was seriously ill. But because mental health isn't something that's discussed where I was from, or maybe even thought about, nobody identified that I was struggling, and I was left to deal with the issues on my own. But seemingly I didn't, and this year they came back worse than ever, manifesting as depression. The thing that I found particularly hard about depression is that it's invisible, that you can't see it, that you can't understand why you're lying on your bed at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, why you haven't got dressed, why you haven't been able to go to lectures, why you couldn't do your essay. None of it made sense to me because I didn't see that I was ill. And this turned into a self-perpetuating cycle of self-hate, which meant that I got to the point that I had to hurt my body because I wasn't able to deal with all the hurt in my brain. And at least a physical hurt makes sense, whereas a mental one just didn't to me. And it wasn't going to make sense until I identified that I was ill. So depression is scary because it's the monster under the bed, the thing that you can't see. And it made me feel like I was losing my identity, that I was losing sight of all the things by which I had defined myself. That there was this stranger in my head, and this stranger hated me, and they were doing everything that they could to make my life a living hell, to make my life unlivable. And it reached the point that I really did think that my life was unlivable. I was in a hole that was so deep that I couldn't even see the sky any longer. But what made the difference was identifying that the stranger was just that. They were not me. It was my illness. And just because I couldn't see it didn't make it any less real. At first, I was reluctant to take medication for an illness that I didn't perceive that I had. But in the words of a friend, antidepressants allowed me to be myself again. And I think the single best thing I've ever done for myself is recognising that I was ill and asking for help. It's scary to talk about mental health. I was worried that people would doubt me. I was worried what people would think of me. And I think I was worried that people would demean or underestimate the pain that I was suffering. But for me at least, those fears and worries were entirely unjustified. I've been met with nothing less than unending kindness and empathy and understanding. And when I talked to my friends about mental health, it transpired they already knew. They were already worried about me. And they were always going to be there, no matter what my brain threw at me, they were still there. At the time, I was in this unfathomably deep hole, and with seemingly no escape. It's scary to trust anybody with something so personal, especially when they can turn around and walk away, when there's no guarantee of how they'll react. But when I told my friends how I was struggling, they didn't leave me in the hole, they jumped into the hole with me, and they helped me find the way out. Asking for help is the kindest thing that I have ever done for myself, because no one should have to walk through hell alone. Everything about mental health is hard, and trying to get better is even harder. I promise you, I understand. But I also promise you that it is worth that fight, because it does get brighter.